This is how I do sew-in elastics on the upper thigh band of the leg sleeve here, or I do on like underwear. I take the inside of the fabric, somewhere where it's not conspicuous. On a pair of underwear would be in the back, on this would be the inner thigh. This is the inner thigh seam or inner leg seam. I take my elastic. I already sized this to my thigh, so when this is on, it's got the proper amount of stretch and compression. So when I put the elastic on, I don't have to stretch it. So what I do is I line up the elastic with the top raw edge of the fabric, usually a little bit before the seam. Put it in my sewing machine, and then I have my machine on a zigzag. Usually at like 4.5 stitch width, 1.4 stitch length. Line it up so you're overcasting just over the edge of the raw edge and the elastic. And then you manipulate the fabric and the elastic. So you're just sewing over the edge of the fabric and the edge of the elastic. These are a little bit of fabric from where the seam was. Just clean it up a little bit. Like I said, I already sized this for my thigh, so I don't need to stretch the elastic. Then you sew around, catching the raw edge of the fabric and the top edge of the elastic and overcasting it just ever so slightly. Just follow it all the way around. And I just left my cone thread and my needle and my woolly nylon in the bobbin. Follow this all the way around. Then you get to where you started. Line up your fabric, elastic over the edge of where you started. I usually go over about an inch or 2.5 centimeters. At this point, I'm catching both layers of the elastic. Going to go over about an inch or 2.5 centimeters. Then I'm just going to cut my elastic at this point. And finish zigzagging over the end of the elastic. This is kind of what you end up with. Now I'm going to switch to the triple stitch the triple stretch stitch. I'm going to go with a stitch length of 3. Now this is where you take what you've just done, fold it in toward the inside of the garment. If you have some seams that are open, make sure they're open. Do that all the way around. Then I usually start toward the inside where I overlap them. Make sure the elastic is up as far as you can this way and that way. And then with my machine, I have the arm where you can open it up. Go through here and make sure the elastic is in here, all the way to the top. I do about little 3/16 of an inch from the top. Now this, while you're sewing this, make sure the elastic is all the way up here and the fabric is nice and flat. Since I sized it, I don't have to stretch it. I'm just letting the machine feed the elastic and fabric through. There's a little bit of a hump here. Just go slow, guide it through. As I'm doing this, I'm making sure the elastic is all the way to the top and the fabric is nice and flat. Another hump here. You can use a hump jumper or a piece of fabric to even out the foot. It's not that big of a hump, so I'm not really worried about it. Make Make sure the fabric's flat, elastic's all the way to the top. This particular method or technique makes the elastic lay nice and flat. Overlap that a little bit, lock stitch. Now that's the top row. Now I do a bottom row, the bottom edge of the elastic. And you could see where the elastic is, or you could feel it. On mine, I just line it up with the foot here, which ends up to be almost the 3/16 of an inch that I did for the top. Do a lock stitch. Then you just do another row of stitching here. Here's the hump. Just make sure you go a little slower over the hump. Keep feeling the fabric, making sure you're lined up with the edge of the foot. Now you're coming up to where the elastic overlaps. Make sure it's nice and flat. Go over this last hump. Lock it in. That's how I do the sew-in elastic for waistbands of underwear, for the upper thigh band of the leg sleeve. The elastic's all nice and enclosed.